What's going on, everyone? Chris Mack coming at you today with the Mezco Collective Gotham by Gaslight Deluxe Joker. And this figure is absolutely spectacular. If you want to pick it up, at the time of this recording, it is unfortunately sold out on Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. On the Mezco website, there is a waiting list for both this one and the Batman version. So I would recommend checking out third-party places. I got a relatively decent deal on this figure. And the box, I love how it just has this ominous feeling of just black with the Joker, of course, 1/12 collective, by collectors, for collectors. And DC here down on the bottom, their logo there on the top. Just that Joker. And usually on the back, they would have like some sort of product, which would have been great. But because of the nature of this character, I love how it just leaves everything open to interpretation, kind of like a From Hell feeling. Nothing really on the bottom. So with that said, even though I said this figure is absolutely fantastic, is it worth your time? Let's get it open and get a closer look. Submerged in the shrouded fog, the gaslights of Gotham, more than a century ago. Word traveled of a laughing butcher who, with a joke, top hat, and smile, lured unsuspecting street dwellers beneath his shop. Donning a bloodied apron over his butcher's frame, fed the vagrants to his pet vermin horde. This Victorian nightmare iteration of the Joker from the pages of Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, the groundbreaking Elseworlds comic released in February of 1989, written by Brian Augustyn with atmospheric art by Mike Mignola, inks by P. Craig Russell, and colors by David Hornham. In this story, the world of the Dark Knight is portrayed during the 19th century and reimagines the Clown Prince himself as a serial killer who married rich old women and then slaughtered them for their money. Before being discovered by the Gotham City Police, this butcher had slain 10 women by poisoning them with strychnine. When finally caught, however, he attempted to commit suicide by drinking his own poison. Instead of killing him, it simply paralyzed his face into a horrific, unsettling visage. This grotesque expression echoes the chemical vat trademark look, but here, in the year of our Lord, 1889, it's infused with strychnine-fueled madness. With the lore of this widow-slaying madman established, let's delve into the figure itself. Now, one thing I do want to point out in terms of the original Gotham by Gaslight is the Joker never really makes like a full appearance. What happens is Bruce meets up with Commissioner Gordon at headquarters, and he talks about this man that's been killing widows and then took strychnine to try to kill himself, which gave him his horrendous grin. And that's all you really see from the Joker. So I like that Mezco really kind of went out of their way to just make something inspired rather than something that had been seen in the comics or movies. It was just a really cool take. Now, in terms of the paint apps on this figure and the sculpt, this thing is beautiful. I love that it has the old school type of pants that have to be held up by suspenders, which, speaking of, these are stretchy, so be careful when you're using these because the more you futz with them, just like any type of bands, they're going to eventually wear out. And that's one thing about these Mezco figures that really concern me is they even say when you buy them, the more you mess with them, the more that the cloth clothing will start to wear over time. So I try to be very careful, but just something to keep in mind, because when you photograph these with like real life clothing effects like this, the cloth, it just looks so much better than trying to make plastic painted on look realistic. And that hair's got that old school gentleman part about it. I love how it has kind of that poisonous purple under the eyes and just that wicked nasty teeth grin with the red lips. The tie is great. I love how the pants are not clean. They're somewhat dirty. It's just, I love everything about the way this figure is set up. As I talked about with the Batman, the one thing that is a little frustrating with these figures is when you're trying to articulate them, because you can't see the joints, you have to think about and move it very carefully to figure out where the hinges are so you don't accidentally break it, because there's really no way of coming back from that. But nonetheless, in terms of the accessories too, he comes with this horrendous smiling face. The one thing that I do not like about it, and a lot of people had these complaints with the McFarlane toys, is he side eyes, and I hate that. So when you have him looking head on, it just looks like he's like, oh, I'm going to think over here. As with a more serious face, which this one's absolutely gorgeous too, it's more straight on. I just wish that they would have kept the eyes the same instead of just that side eye, which is frustrating when you want to do it on a forward shot like this. It's like you always have to constantly pose them that way to get the right look. As with this one, you can get a little more away with it, but at least the paint apps match. It has that ghoulish purple about it. Just excellent. For the other accessories, he kind of comes with this open gesturing hand, and I love how each one has this bloody effect on it. It just adds to the wickedness of this Jack the Ripper feeling, which is what Gotham by Gaslight is Jack coming to Gotham City, but it's not the Joker. You'll have to read the comic to find out. And I say read the comic because they did do an animation adaptation of it, and even though it's standing alone, it's a good story, but I don't like the twist. They should have kept it with what the original was. So that's just my personal opinion. But these two hands are great. He does also come with sort of a bloody pointy hand, which is cool. And then, of course, your mandatory closed fist ones. Those look great, too. And then you have one that's more for, like, meticulous work, because he comes with a plethora of brutal torture devices that we'll get into it. I mean, look at those bloody fingers. You don't get this with your regular off-the-shelf Walmart figures. These are all just absolutely beautiful in these nice, just different ways to do these figures. I mean, look at all these hands. My goodness. I mean, one thing that I will say, and I love this grabbing hand, by the way, kind of get that chokehold going on. Just a great design. But one thing I will say about Mezco is even though we get all these great accessories, I am always a little reluctant to pull them all out because I'm afraid of losing them. Because I put them back in the box when I'm done because I don't want to lose any of them. I love this briefcase. Has that old leathery feel about it, but it's hard plastic. It's too bad that they couldn't get like an actual leather feel to it. And on the handle, probably can't see it very well, but it says JKK. So Joker, I don't know what the other K is for. And it does open, which is really neat. And even though he comes with a lot, I don't know if you could put every single accessory in here, but they all have their grooved out spots. So I love that extra layer. I mean, they didn't have to do that, but the fact that they did, and that's why I love their slogan of by collectors for collectors, because we want this nerdy stuff. And that's just a nice little addition. Now, as for accessories, the bone saw. You can see that this thing has been worked on, I don't want to know what. It has that very old, like Victorian 19th century horrificness about it. And then, of course, you can't go wrong without your kind of Michael Myers type knife. Again, just like the hands, love all that blood on there. The tweezers actually work. Again, they did not need to go this far, but just having the blood on the tips and being able to do that is freaking fantastic. These little knives, again, I'm afraid of losing these. I mean, look at the detail in these, the sheen of the metal. And this thing, oh, just, it gives you the creepy vibes, especially this little tiny, like, God, what is he going to do with this? Or what is he going to do with that? Or this? I don't know what any of these are called, so feel free to clue me in on the comments, but man, all those are just absolutely nasty. And then if you have the Gotham by Gaslight Batman and you want to do a murder scene, he does come with these tiny little old school tiny like calling cards. Love the design, and just not on the front, but on the back has a cool design on it. And you don't get just one, but you get three. And I love this one particularly because this feels like something Joker would do. It has more like the devil look to it. And then the matching plain style on the back. I mean, look at those. Those are so beautifully well done. Then he also comes with the old school steampunk style glasses. And look at the way that reflects in the light. That looks so great. And they fit relatively well on his face. And just like with Marvel Legends, I've talked about how I'm always afraid of glasses popping off. What I like about Mezco is they give you just enough groove in the hair and the head for it to just latch on. And look at that. That is spectacular. And then you get the lovely used top hat, kind of reminds me of like something the Mad Hatter would wear. And look at that, guys. Look at how quick your character transforms. That is just something to behold. And then in terms of that, the other thing that he does come with, this cloth, and it has multiple purposes. I mean, you can either use it, like if you want to get a close-up shot, if you do photography, you can make it look like he's wiping the blood off his hands post-torture. Or if you want to do like a snow scene, you can tuck that under his coat, which we'll get to in a minute. And it looks like he has one of those huge old school like Scrooge type, what is those things called? Scarf around his neck. That is awesome. Now, speaking of the coat that I just talked about, I know the McFarlane Page Puncher Killing Joke Joker just came with a soft coat, but looking at the photos, I'm not enthralled with it. It looks like the way it flares out at the bottom. It just looks like they gave him a big piece of cloth and slapped it on him, and it looks too big for him. It looks like a Barbie doll. As where this one actually fits him. And just a heads up, when you're putting it on, you do need to pop his hands off. His hands will not go through these armholes. It's a major pain in the butt. So let's get all these accessories off, and look at that. I'm having a little bit of trouble pulling that off his face, which is what you want. So the only gripe that I will say now that I'm thinking about it, the hand pegs. Now, usually you want the hand pegs to be relatively longer so this stays on, but look at how tiny, they're like little tiny nubs. So there are times, like when you're trying to get a shot set up, like I'll be trying to get the hand raised for a knife shot, and because look at how easy that pops off. So if you're going to display him on a shelf, keep that in mind. That and the side eye are probably my two biggest bitches with this figure. But anyway, you pop the hands off there. And just like if you're going to be putting on a coat naturally, you put your arms back. Pull it up around his shoulders, bring it around, stuff it up. And then you get those hands on, back on. The other hand on. And I love that the coat's long enough to cover those ugly ass ball joints. As where it's like McFarlane wants to feature those on his figures. No offense, I love the McFarlane line, but there are certain things that just irk the living crap out of my gurk. But when you get that on, look at how it hugs his body the way that a coat should. It doesn't flare out. It doesn't look like Ken and Barbie. I do wish there was a little bit of bendy wire, so if you want to make it look like the wind's blowing, you could kind of flap it up. So that's a bit unfortunate. I do like the split in the back, so it's not going to keep them stiff. Really appreciate that. The last couple of things that he comes with, I know, it's like, my goodness, yeah, we're not done, guys. The butcher apron. Just look at the filth and the grime and the blood stains on that thing. That just looks like something you would see Leatherface wearing. And on the inside, I love how it just has that sheen to it. And it goes on relatively well. Just work it around. And then you just tie it around, but he has the what do you call it, the coat on, so it's going to look a little bulky. But then you can just easily take these ribbons, which are very fragile, by the way, be careful. And you just tie it on, and you have the butcher apron on him. I wish it had more of a leather feel. It's very soft, so I just kind of wish it would have had that more hide feel. But still, nonetheless, when you're doing photography with it, looks fantastic. Now, the last thing, if you're more of a shelf posing collector, he comes with this very awesome Joker stand, and I love, again, how it's just in black. Very beautiful. And just like with the Gotham by Gaslight's Batman one, you just take something and pop that little nib out, which will allow you, and even though he does not fly, he comes with this cool stand. So if you want to try to do a walking one, so you can put it there, and if you want to make sure he doesn't want to fall off the shelf, you can at least attach him that way. or put it more at an angle for photography where Batman's punching him or something. You can do it that way. So lots of options with this. And because, like I said, because the Joker doesn't really make a appearance in the original comics, it would have been cool if they could have put the comic homage like they did on the Gaslight Batman. But still, just this black, the Joker, not saying anything and just giving that dread feel. Looks great. So paid ups, accessories, guys. This thing is worth your time. I love this figure so much. Now, the articulation for these Mezco figures are great. One thing that I have noticed, for the most part, right out of the box, you can articulate him very well. I did kind of hold him in front of my space heater just for a little bit, just to make sure that there wasn't any breakage, so to speak. Now, for the articulation, again, be careful because you can wear this cloth out. He can look down that far. And I don't understand why they didn't let him look back anymore. Like, you can't go any further back on the head. So that's kind of a damning part of it, but whatever. Head that way. And you do get some decent play along with the neck articulation there. Arm hinges up. Now, unfortunately, again, because of the cloth, you can't go full 360. So you're just having to go back and forth so you don't tear that fabric. Almost double jointed elbows. And as I was talking about that small peg, I mean, look at that. I'm trying to show you the hand articulation and look at how easily that popped off. So, hand does articulate. You just got to be careful because of that stupid peg. You can look down or squat down that much. And even with the cloth, you can go back that far. Again, got to be careful because see how it starts to stretch the shirt. But still, not a bad range of motion there. The pants can go out that far. It bunches up, but you can go up that far. And I don't know if that's a butt flap or if this is part of the cloth, but you can't put his leg back 90 degrees, which sucks. He does have the upper thigh swivel. Double jointed knees. Foot pivot. One thing McFarlane has spoiled me on is the toe pivot. And I mean, I'm glad that the joints are hidden. But that toe pivot, just when you try and make characters walk, looks a lot more natural. So I kind of wish that that was there. But still, you get a decent range of motion in the feet. So, not spectacular articulation, but nonetheless, you're going to have a really great time with this figure. It's one that you want, especially if you are just a fan of Batman and all the different Elseworld mythologies. Now here's our Mezco Joker next to the Killing Joke version from Alan Moore and Brian Bolin, as well as the video game Arkham City. Of the three Jokers, I do have to say that the Arkham City is the closest to like a realistic comic book version of the Joker. It just has that beautiful, or how they say it in the 89 movie, love that smile. But it has the hair, it has that look, and it just has that very contorted look about the Joker, and just the outfit in general screams Mr. J. We have gone over both of these characters, so I'll try to remember to leave a card here in the video somewhere so you guys can check that out after this review. But yeah, of the three, this is my favorite. But this Mezco one, oh my goodness. What drives me nuts, I know recently they just released a page puncher version of the Killing Joke with a nice soft cape, or not cape, coat. However, this one definitely takes the cake because we were just looking at this nice soft jacket that he comes with, and it just doesn't look as hokey as that page puncher version. The only frustrating part is, of course, and this is what a lot of collectors have a beef with McFarlane, is the 7-inch versus the 6-inch. Look at how tiny he is. So if you guys want to do any type of like multiversal photography, you're going to have to do like a depth of field to make him look better, or put these bigger versions on their knees. But nonetheless, that aside, this Mezco Joker is absolutely phenomenal, and I love everything about it. And the side eye does kind of irk my gurk a little bit, as we talked about, but still he's got that lovely, horrific grin, and all the accessories. It just gives you so much that you can do with that figure. But with that said, that's just my personal opinion. What do you guys think? What's your favorite action figure version of the Joker thus far? I know that there's been several released. This is just a little spread of the ones that I've currently really enjoyed. Let us know, and how do you plan on posing, you Mr. J's? Are you going to do them by eras, by comics, by movies, by video games? Are you going to do action figure photography? Take some photos, either of your action figure photography or your shelves. We'd love to see it over on our socials. I absolutely love this figure, guys. When I saw that Mezco had a waiting list for it, I went, oh, hell no. So I went to the third-party market and found it for a relatively decent price. Because this was one of those ones where, like there's sometimes you can look at a figure and like, oh, I'll wait on it. But this was one that I did not want to wait on. After I bought the Gaslight Batman, I knew that I needed the Joker. And even though he doesn't make any appearance in the original comic, you still feel his presence. And that's just how strong the Joker is in terms of the Batman mythology. And this is definitely why you want this character in your collection. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is to get your action figures and comics and see if they have it in stock. If not, then like we talked about at the beginning of this review, you're going to have to check out the third-party market for the time being. Speaking of review, if you've enjoyed this video, really would appreciate it if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Gaslight bell next subscribe, that way as I can upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure the links down in the description. So with all that said, photo slideshow coming up next. Hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone. Hey y'all, I got some action figures up for sale to make room for future reviews on the channel. If you're interested, hit me up on the socials or shoot me an email. I'm only using PayPal for now. Check out the Google link in the description for pricing and availability. If something grabs you, we can work out a price. And just a heads up, shipping will be additional based on your location. Thanks for supporting the hunt.